Make the breath as subtle as possible, as shallow as possible. The more subtle the breath, the more shallow the breath, the level of carbon dioxide will increase in the blood, and we'll be able to move into deep relaxation and maybe a trance. Make the breathing as subtle as possible. Just to sustain ourselves, we are breathing in and out in rhythm. We'll relax the body. We'll start with the two legs. Move your attention through the right leg. Relax the right leg. Same way, relax the left leg from the toes to the thigh. Move your attention within the leg and relax the leg. Take your attention to the navel. Relax the abdomen below the navel. Move your attention through the perineum. The perineum is the most important membrane in the body. You cannot directly rise in consciousness. The energy must rebound from the perineum and we rise in consciousness. Take your attention above the navel and relax the area above the navel. Especially the solar plexus. Take your attention to the back, relax the back. Move through the backbone, relaxing every vertebra, every disc. Feel the whole of the back, the whole back. Take your attention to the chest, relax the chest. The two hands, right hand from the fingers to the shoulder. The left hand from the fingers to the shoulder. Move your attention through both the hands and relax them. The shoulders, right shoulder, left shoulder, both the shoulders together. Relax the neck, loosen the jawbone, release the jawbone. There's a lot of tension in the jawbone. Loosen the jawbone. Relax the chin. The two lips, the upper lip, the lower lip. Both lips together. Loosen the tongue. Relax the tongue. Move your attention through the top of the mouth. Very important part, the palate. Relax the two cheeks, right cheek, left cheek. The two ears, right ear, left ear. Move your attention deep into the ear and relax the ears. The back of the head, the top of the head, the forehead, the two eyes and around the eyes. Move once through the body. If you feel tension anywhere, relax it. Now we'll try to move from the physical body to the subtle body, the body of sensitivity. Feel yourself floating on water. The touch of water, the movement of the waves. And you've totally surrendered to the water, not frightened of anything. Now within this body, sense a subtle body. That within this body there is a subtle body made of electromagnetism. It is like water. It moves through the body, it moves a little out of the body. It rises and falls as waves. It becomes small, it becomes big. Sense the body. Sense the subtle body. If you can't feel the subtle body, visualize it. Enjoy the feeling of the subtle body. It is so enjoyable, so blissful just to have that sensitivity of the inner body. Now we'll try to move a little deeper. Each body interpenetrates the other. From the Pranmay Kosh, we'll try to move into the Manomay Kosh. This is the astral world. Take your attention behind the two eyebrows and look at your forehead from within. Keep breathing with the music. The forehead is the screen of the mind. Look at it from inside. Throw the light of attention upon it. The screen is dark. The light is the light of the projector. Try to observe thoughts as they make patterns, feelings as they make images. Try to see your own thought patterns. Very relaxed, no aggressiveness, effortless effort. Now on the screen of the mind, create some images, draw some images. Take the images out of your deep memory. Someone you knew long ago, maybe a grandfather, a grandmother. Create the image. Let the image start a story. Let the image start a dream. Observe the screen of the mind. Look at your forehead from behind. Slowly you will create a dream. And there'll be a story in the dream. This morning I had a dream I was walking down an old road. So see yourself walking down an old road and the familiarity with the surroundings. Something you missed when you were young and you see it now. The same road. Enter the dream with your dream body, with the etheric body, with the Pranmay Kosh. Enjoy the dream. Feel two eyes, one in the dream, experiencing the dream, one watching from outside. Keep breathing with the music. The eye in the dream is a liquid eye. It can go through walls, it can fly in the air. It can become small, it can become big. It is a liquid eye. It keeps adapting to the conditions of the dreams. The eye watching is very stable. Sense the eye watching. Feel its presence. It is like we have the presence of a father figure, a presence of an elder brother, always taking care. Hold the presence, the eye, the one who is watching the dream. Slowly let the dream dissolve into the background of the screen of the mind. And when you look at the empty screen, the whole inner astral world is full of light. Everything is full of light. Feel the light. Bathe in the light. Now we'll go ahead, and to go ahead we'll visualize a sunset. You're sitting on the beach. Feel the sand beneath you. Feel the water touching you. Hear the sound of the waves. Smell the sea. See the sun setting in the water. How the colors change. How the water covers the sun. Slowly. Slowly the sun dissolves into the ocean, sets in the ocean. The sky is filled with a red color. Slowly the red color also vanishes, and the night is filled with darkness. See the darkness. Feel the darkness. Enter into the darkness. In that darkness, because we are looking at it, we are throwing the light of attention on the darkness. The particles of darkness reflect our glow and they become luminous. See the darkness. In that faint glow, we see waves within the darkness, different shades of darkness. One wave merging with the other. If one wave merges with the other over there, we may feel a new person will come in our life. One wave trying to suppress the other. Maybe it is an expression of egoism. It is telling us in advance. What we see over there is always the future. how the future is going to come in some form. See the waves, how the waves meet and separate and merge with the darkness and again re-emerge from the darkness. Everything in life begins here. Everything in life ends here. All seeds, all patterns, their seeds are lying over here. This is the great time, the Mahakal, the great memory. Now we'll hold the darkness for 2 minutes. Be very relaxed and just look at the waves. If thoughts, feelings, words come, observe them and drop them. Keep watching. If you feel thoughts are disturbing, make an effort to dissolve in the darkness. Keep watching. In the darkness, put a seed of thankfulness. Just a small seed of thankfulness. Remember Mr. Tavaria once and then drop it. Let it dissolve in the darkness, the thought. We will slowly come back. Start taking a few deep breaths. Stretch your fingers and toes a little. Feel the body as if you're re-entering the body. Take a few more deep breaths. And slowly open your eyes. Morning. Supposing we were to start our inner journey, we will call it the journey of self-observation. What would be the first thing we would like to notice? What would be the first thing we would like to notice? Anyone can answer. Permission is there, so it's okay. What is the first thing we would like to notice? Yeah. Right, we start with, but supposing we were to look inside, where am I right now? Where am I right now? At this moment in my life, where am I? So, the mind has an atmosphere. The mind has an atmosphere. Right? And that atmosphere can be positive or negative. So, somebody asks me, do you want to come for a movie? I say, I'm not in the mood. So, all inner observations start with what state I am in. What is my mood? Somebody insults me, does my mood change? Somebody does not come on time, does my mood change? I lose some money in the stock market, does my mood change? The food is not good, does my mood change? I'm walking in the park, someone I know does not say good morning, does my mood change? So, the beginning of self-observation is, where am I? Where am I? If I have got irritated, am I in a good mood or bad mood? Very simple, right? I see someone's t-shirt, it is a better t-shirt than mine, I feel jealous. Am I in a good mood or bad mood? Someone I love is missing for some time, I get suspicious. Where is she? Where is he? Where did you go? You know, people these days, I get a lot of people, they check each other's phones. They love to check each other's phones. Whom were you chatting with? Whom were you chatting with? Right? Does my mood change? So, this inner atmosphere of the mind, mannu andarnu vatavaran, mood, right? It keeps changing. It keeps changing. And as we observe it, we will see it is totally dependent upon outside circumstances. If you praise me, the mood will be good. If you criticize me, the mood will be bad. Immediately the clouds change the situation. You praised me, the skies were sunny. Suddenly you criticized me, there are clouds now coming inside, dark clouds. Each moment life is coming to us in the form of an event. What is our inner state? Do we receive life or do we negate life? How do we receive life? The minute I find fault, the minute I complain, I'm in a negative mood. The minute I blame someone for something, I'm in a negative mood. Someone says you did not come on time, and I try to justify it that, okay, there was traffic and this. So, because he told me I'm in a negative mood. So, the first part of self observation is that the moods of the mind keep on changing because of external circumstances. Very, very simple. This is so simple, right? But it requires hard work. So, where do we start our pause? Where do we start our pause? Can I, you've just praised me, and a minute later somebody, what do you call, criticizes me, right? And I see my mood changing inside. Can I pause there? Hey, wait a minute. I don't want any dark clouds in the mind. And this is the beginning of a pause, beginning of Nirodh, right? So each moment, an event of life is coming in as an impression, and our first inner step is not to allow the impression to take a negative form inside. And the minute we are angry, the minute we react, the minute we are irritated, the minute we are excited, the minute we lose our state of relaxation, the mood has changed. Can you see one simple step? One simple step. And the mood appears on the face, in your gestures, in the tenseness of the muscles. So, if somebody can read, they know that this person is in a negative mood. Whatever we show outside. Whatever we show outside. So I see somebody coming towards me, and I know that there is an inner dislike for that person. Can I pause over there and not become a victim of the dislike? I remember I had a thing that uh, where people would touch my body and I would get very upset and irritated. And especially when people used to come to hug me. And I always like to keep a little distance. And then I spent these 6 years observing Mr. Tavaria. And there was a group of Chopati Malishwalas. I don't know if you know, on Chopati in those days, you pay 8 annas and somebody would give you a beautiful malish for 1 hour, you know, those days. I don't know if any of you have gone there. Thank you. He would come with his oil and the bottle and, you know, and crack all the joints and everything. It was too good. And these malishwalas would come in a big group to Mr. Tavaria. And you see their clothes, they're smelling of oil, right? They may not have had a bath for so many days. And they came for one thing, for his oil. For his oil. He used to make this oil and he would give it to them free. Everybody, of course, he always gave the oil free. So in each malishwala's hand, he would put 2 bottles of oil. And then Mama would get very angry. Right? Mama would get very angry. Why are you giving so much? They are going to ask for money for this thing. When they do the malish, they are going to ask for money and you're giving away this oil free. And then when she says that you're giving it free, you would take 1 more bottle and put it between the 2 bottles. So that person had to, right? And then he would hug each of the malishwalas, each one, and say, go do your work and what you call feed your family and something like that. He would bless each one of them and hug them. And when you hug them, he was so relaxed, not a single what you call gesture of dislike on his face, as if he was allowing them to merge into him. And that is when my whole this thing broke at that time. When I said, if he can do this, then what am I? I'm nothing, right? So after that, I never bothered about people hugging or people touching. It suddenly overnight that went away. But that was after observing him doing this. And you do it in such a loving way. I mean, it's very difficult to describe, right? And then later on in my astrological study, I learned that all the people who do labor work, right? They come under Saturn. They are ruled by Saturn. And we must treat them with respect. Right? Can you understand? They are doing something which we would find dislike in doing. They are doing something which we would find dislike in doing. And in treating them with respect, we free ourselves from the negative influence of Saturn. Right? When I was in my young days, the school days, I used to see a lot of Hindi movies, and to follow all the actors and actresses. And I used to write letters. There was a magazine in those days called Filmfare. I don't know if it's still there or not. And there was one interview there in Filmfare of Sharmila Tagore. And the whole interview was an ordinary interview like you have with any star. But at the end, the interviewer, I don't remember his name today, his or her name, he wrote one thing. The thing which impressed me most, that she calls all her servants by Aap. She calls all her servants by Aap. And that really touched me at that time. I never knew astrology at that time. I didn't, but that carried on, that memory carried on. So, how to take in an impression and not become negative inside. This is the beginning of pause. And the whole spiritual path is the path of surrender. Right? Someone has come to meet you, but the path of surrender. And sometimes it creates a very negative impression inside, and we have to pause that impression. So the beginning of pause is, where am I inside? In what water am I standing? Now, Life is full of unpleasant surprises. For years, I used, even now sometimes when I get time, I trade in the stock market. So I have a saying of the stock market: expect the unexpected. Expect the unexpected. So life is full of surprises, right? And life can be cruel, life can be unpleasant, right? And we have this deep desire that the next moment should be a happy moment. We have this deep, what do you call, longing from life that tomorrow life should be better than it should be today, right? And the desire should be that tomorrow I will be in a state that whatever life brings in front of me, I can accept it without getting negative. Without getting negative. This is the beginning of pause. But this requires great inner conscious effort. It's not going to come so easily. Impressions come in and it's very fast. So pausing the reaction, stopping the reaction. Now, what is the basis of self-observation? The basis of self-observation. The first thing, we are looking inside, and now what do we want to do? What do we want to do? Separate the I from the it. I separate I from Rajan. I'm looking at Rajan. I see Rajan is getting upset. I see he is getting irritated. And I pause over there. I said, drop it. Drop it. This is an inner dialogue between I and it. It is an inner dialogue, right? When we are thinking, it is all monologue. It is all one person thinking. It is all monologue. So can we develop this inner dialogue? So the inner stop, and Gurdjieff had the stop exercise, and he did not start with the mind, right? Like somebody said, started with the body, Gurdjieff. And he would tell his disciples, make them dance or make them something, and suddenly say, stop. And in that stopping of the body, for some time, the mind would stop, right? So we don't have to do the external stop, we can do the internal stop, right? Is pause over there. Pause over there. Right. The external stop is the statue which we played in school. A statue, right? And this is statue of the mind. Statue of the mind. So, to be able to remain motionless in the mind, right? And people react very easily. And when a person reacts very easily, you know that person, the mind is chattering all the time. The mind cannot be still. So in an external statue, we are not supposed to move the body, not supposed to move the eyes, right? What used to happen in school when we played statue? What would happen in school when we played statue? Huh? Other friends would try to break the statue. Somebody would come and do this and do that and, try to break the statue. Other friends would come and try to break the statue. Similarly, when your statue inside, when you've paused inside, thoughts, feelings, sensations will come and try to break it. Will come and try to break it. Right? And maybe you'll remember, I forgot to do this. Right? Thought came, let it go. Statue. We will hold the last thought we were thinking. Even if you have to say it externally, hold the last thought you were thinking, right? So I say, she did not come on time, and okay, pause. I don't want to get negative. Pause over there. And you can do a mala also, 108. She did not come on time, she did not come on time. But don't go from she did not come on time, she has no responsibility about time. She is an irresponsible person. Then the statue has gone. Right? So you can do a 108 mala also. Right? She did not come on time, she did not come on time, right? And pause. Don't go from that thought to the other thought, right? Other thoughts does not mean they will come in like a tidal wave, because especially when we are doing this, then thoughts will come like a tidal wave. Ignore them. Don't invite a thought into your home and give it a cup of tea, right? Ignore them. Let them pass by the, what do you call, roadside, right? The minute you move to another thought, you're finished. The minute you move to another thought, you're finished. Yesterday, somebody was telling of an incident where bees attacked two people, swarm of bees. One of them ran away, the bees ran behind him, and one of them slept immediately on the ground, motionless, right? If you move, the bees can see you. If you don't move, the bees cannot see you, right? In the animal world, motion is sight. If the deer is standing motionless, then the lion is waiting for a small movement before it runs behind the deer. So, motionlessness in the mind, to be motionlessness in the mind. Right? So, this is the whole art of bringing consciousness between the reception of an impression and what do you call? Reacting to the impression. That is holding ourselves, the gap between the impression coming in and the reaction to the impression. And this is very difficult, right? But we can practice along the way. Right? That is, I made the reaction. I asked her, why did you come late? Right? Or I started thinking in my mind, she has no responsibility. And when I suddenly realize, I wake up, right? I pause over there. I stop the last thought. So I may have gone into a, what do you call, right? Now, initially, I may have even given a few words to her. And I pause in between. After some time, the words come here and I pause over there, right? Then I'm observing my thoughts, right? And I say I'm thinking about it and I try to pause over there. And then I try to pause between the first thought and the second thought. And this is a very deep pause, right? So, let's take it in this way. He owes me some money, right? And I see him coming from a distance. distance, right? So immediately the thought comes, he owes me some money. The second thought which will come is he has not been paying for so much time. Can I pause between the first thought and the second thought? Right? Can I pause between the first? Can I just hold it over there? At least it is not a pause between the impression and the reaction, but it is a pause between the chain of thought between the reaction and the first thought which comes out of the reaction. Or maybe I take 2, 3 thoughts and I pause over there, and slowly I'm able to pause exactly at the moment where the first thought came, and I, went to the second thought. And this is a great inner art, a great inner art, right? As you develop this. Yeah. Can we practice this throughout the day? This small thing, can we practice throughout the day? Can we practice throughout the day? Right? Yesterday, we were talking about keto, right? And he did this. And then Yanni said, I had already told him in advance that not to do this. I had already told him in advance not to do this. Now, what is this? What is this? Metane kidelo. Very common. Very common. Not about Yani and Keta, but it is very common. Right? I had told you. I had told you. What is that? Is it an expression of self-love? Me kidelu. I told you. Can we? So the first thought comes, I had warned him in advance. Can you pause between the warning him? The first thought came because then you express the thought, I had already told him and he went and did this stupid thing. Right? This is yesterday's example only, right? So, can you see this, right? It is self-love. I told you, right? So, can we hold our attention? Can we stand still in that small gap between it coming came, I had told you, and I express it outside. I express it outside. Right? Now, initially, there'll be a tidal wave of thoughts, in the sense that she will pause, it came up to here, and she wants to tell it, but she paused over there. She did not tell it. But does the matter end over there? Right? Other thoughts will come, okay, tell it this time, but we'll pause tomorrow. Right? We won't pause today, we'll pause tomorrow. Because, see, there is a kind of, the ego gets a kind of, sweet meat, right? He gets a kind of mithai. I had told you, right? The ego gets a kind of mithai in this, right? So, can we pause over there, right? And again, so the thought will come. So, there will be an inner struggle. There will be an inner struggle for this. It's not going to, so you'll pause, again a thought will come. Sometimes you'll give in and say it outside. Sometimes again you'll pause inside. Pause inside. Yeah. Pardon? We have talked about it before, but the pattern of revenge, right? Now, maybe she said, I told you so, and Ketav feels hurt, then he holds that inside. And he says, when do I get a chance to tell her also, I told you so? I told you so, right? Now, when we give it back to somebody, that is, there the pudding is very sweet. The pudding is very sweet. When we are, somebody has insulted us, somebody has called us something, and we are able to give it back to that person, really put that person in his place, right? Then the, what do you call, the dessert is of excellent quality dessert, tiramisu, right? Right? So revenge is tiramisu. Revenge is tiramisu. Now, in small things, when people laugh at us, people mimic us, when we feel nobody is paying attention to us, right? And in such situations, that thought comes and we'll immediately go into a negative mood. Again, hold the last thought over there. Many times we feel we deserve more attention from people, right? Everybody wants other people's attention. Gurdjieff calls it a state of self-pity. Self-pity. And in self-pity, we are always internally considering. Always, I have not been treated properly. I deserve more. People don't understand me. And all these patterns are lying in the subconscious, right? So the person in the garden in the morning forgot to say good morning, and I start going on a long trip, right? Once somebody sent me a whole letter that people in India don't say good morning. In America, everybody says good morning. Now I tell her, you are late. You are late. Usually, many, at traveling a lot, and you meet other people who talk and give lectures and things like that. And this one Swami who's very famous, I won't take his name, and we meet many times in America, and right. So, and people tell me that when he this thing say 10:30 is the hall will close. If anybody is left out there, I have to say what I have to say. If nobody is there to hear it, does not matter, right? If person want to pick their mobile phones during the lecture, it's their wish. I have no rule against it. I stopped now asking because people, the mobile phones, the vibration sort of jarred me a little, and I suddenly lost my inner connection. That is why I had to request people to stop the mobile phones. Otherwise, in the old days, people would be with the mobile phones and talking, and I would be talking also. So uh, I don't want to make any rules. I don't want to make any rules, right? But people make these rules. So there is this inner urge to put our thoughts upon others, to put our thoughts upon others. And we have to pause over there and see, right? Whether we are doing the right thing, or is it that inner ego which wants to control others and put its thoughts upon others. And usually it is that asking for its nourishment. So she comes late, right? I tell her you've come late. What does she say? What does she say? I was stuck in the traffic. So it's not my fault. It's the fault of the traffic, right? And it's never our fault. It's never our fault. It's always the fault of the traffic, right? And what has happened over here? What has happened over here? Justification. But the ego has a picture of itself, and I have ruined that picture by telling her you have come late. Every ego has a beautiful picture. What a good boy am I, right? And that I've told her she's come late, and I've thrown a stone at that picture. She tries to justify herself, right? Mr. Tavaria had a saying, that never defend yourself. Let your life speak for itself. Never defend yourself. Let your life speak for itself. Right? And jealousy and envy. Jealousy and envy. What is the difference between jealousy and envy? What is the difference between jealousy and envy?
Somebody else has a better car and I also want that better car would be envy. And jealousy would be like I am jealous that he or she has a better car and I am not able to get it and she does not deserve it or he does not deserve it. Means where it goes on in the head.
No. Let's just try to, because we want to see both of these within ourselves. So, he has a better car. I'm jealous. I'm observing right? Where does the jealousy turn into envy? At which point does the jealousy turn into envy?
એની પાસે નહીં હોવી જોઈએ.
Yeah, I'll say when he's not looking, I'm going to take a stone and make a scratch on his car. Jealousy has turned into envy. Can you get what I'm trying to say? Right? I'm envious of him. Now, I'm not just jealous of him. Right? Where do we see jealousy but we never see envy? Where do we see jealousy but we never see envy? Huh? I can't hear. No, I can't hear. Where's the other mic?
Brothers and sisters.
Brothers and sisters, there's jealousy and there's no envy. In the animal kingdom, animals feel jealous during their mating season. In the mating season, but there is no envy amongst them. Right? There is no envy. Envy is man created. So jealousy comes out of egoism and envy comes out of ego. Can you understand? Right? So if in my class somebody was getting better marks than me, then I'll hide her or his books. That is envy. That is envy. Right? In envy there is an inner satisfaction if something bad happens. So a friend of mine may have earned a lot of money. I'm jealous of him. That's okay. But tomorrow if I hear that he had a loss and lost money and I get a feeling of enjoyment, then it is not just jealousy, it is envy. It is not just jealousy, it is envy. And we will see that jealousy could be a very general term. Right? I may be jealous of some actor of his good looks and height, and I'm a poor guy with bad looks and no height. Right? But envy is more amongst close associates and friends. Can you say? Envy. Duryodhan had envy. He wanted to destroy the Pandavas. It wasn't just jealousy. It was envy. He wanted to destroy them completely. Okay, now we are going to take this pause. Is this clear now? Pause to everyone. Clear, right? We're going to go deeper into it, and we are going to, because the first two he calls the in-between stage as between 2482 and 5221, the in-between. So he calls brain diagram 2 as 5221, and brain diagram 3 is 5221 established. 5221 established, right? If we can understand these three pictures, these three diagrams, we'll understand our whole inner map of consciousness. Of course, then he goes deeper, but that doesn't concern us at this stage. Our what do you call, effort would be to progress from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 2 to 3, right? You want to talk about 2482, Nay? Or you want me to talk about it? I don't. Everybody loves your beautiful face, right? So 2, Mr. Tavaria calls intellectual or sattva. 4 he calls emotion, ego, I, or aggressiveness or intensity. 8 he calls as sex, right? So we'll start again from the beginning. 2, intellectual or sattva. E, that is 4, that is E, is emotional or rajas. And third is S, which is what do you call, mechanical, what do you call, the sex, or tamas. Tamas, right? So he has named tamas, rajas, and sattva as IES. IES. M is the resultant. M is the resultant, right? What does 8 say? 8 is compulsion plus excitement. We will change his terminology from sex to compulsion plus excitement. Compulsion plus excitement. And where is the beginning of excitement? Where does it lie? Where does excitement come in man from? He goes very deep into this, but I'm not going to take all that, right? Where does excitement come in man? If supposing I'm excited by something, right? Supposing she says, would you like some money? And it excites me, right? Where does that excitement come from, right? She says that, would you like a packet of cheese? And it excites me. I go to a shop and I see something new, it excites me, right? Can you understand, right? So 8 is excitement. 8 is excitement, right? 8 is also compulsion. Compulsion. Where has excitement come from? What is the excitement is a hangover from what? No, excitement is a hangover from what? From the animal kingdom, right? Animals And plants are programmed to respond to external stimuli. They have to react. They have to react. Can you understand? This body brain system which we have has progressed through evolution. The same cells which are lying inside of me may have been in some lion first, and maybe have been in some tree first, and they've evolved from there and come into man. Right? As long as man automatically responds to external stimuli, he's still a victim of his inner animal cells. I automatically react. Right? I say to her, you are late. She automatically reacts. There was traffic. This is 8. Can you understand? 2, 4, 8. 8, the 8 over there. Excitement. Right? What is there in a reaction? What is there in a reaction? That is, no, there is no feeling of I. There is not that feeling that I react, right? Automatic. Gurdjieff calls it as identification, mechanical, whatever we call it, right? Reaction. There is the absence of self-consciousness. There is the absence of self-consciousness. So, reaction is a hangover from the animal kingdom. So, the first step in our inner journey is from 248 to 522 is that we pause the reaction. Mr. Tavaria is saying, pause the reaction. The introduction of pause from 248 to 522, he puts in the introduction of pause. Right? So the body-brain system is a victim of excitement. It reacts immediately in every feeling. Right? Which energy gets excited in reaction? Right? The sex energy. The sex energy is a victim of excitement. Is a victim of excitement. That sex energy is locked in that pattern of reaction, like we said yesterday. And immediately the stone comes from outside, the instrumental cause comes from outside, it immediately triggers the reaction, it triggers the sanskar, and I give it back to her. I said, you should have planned for traffic. Who told you not to plan for traffic? Right? There is no sympathy in what I am saying. There is no understanding of her situation in what I am saying. So we react immediately. This is 248. Now let us see the journey. Let us see this journey. I hope you all are still with me in this. Now, I tell her you are late. Immediately she gets excited. Excited is number 8, right? Who feels hurt? Who feels hurt inside? The I. The I is which one? So S feels excited. S feels excited. What feels hurt? E. E feels hurt. Right? But excitement he has put as 8. Right? Hurt he has put as 4. Hurt he has put as 4. I feel hurt. Emotion. I feel hurt. How can you say I'm late? There was traffic on the way. Right? So what does the I do? it reacts. Now, just try to see this 8 and 4, how he has arranged this 8 and 4. Eight is excitement. It comes to E, right? Say we will take that the impression is traveling inside the mind and it is traveling from down to up. So it is moving from S to E. And E says, I have been hurt. Maybe it reaches up to I. It's move up in IESM. It is moving up. And I says that pause over here, pause, but the pause is, what is the intensity of pause? 2. So it comes back to I and I says forget you, right? Give it back to that person, right? And 8 is compulsion, right? I have to say it, right? I can't hold it inside. There is a, she knows that she doesn't want to say I was stuck in traffic. She doesn't want to defend herself. She understands, but that understanding is 2, right? The hurt in I that he told me that you are late is 4. And the compulsion pulling her, the sex pulling her, which is the compulsion. Can you understand this? The compulsion, she has to blurt it out, and she's living in this, what do you call, of 248. 248. Now, M is the final action. M is the final action. Right? Now, M is also little, if you bring in Gurdjieff over here, but here Tavaria ji has ignored Gurdjieff because Gurdjieff says that the impression first comes in our, what do you call, instinctive center, and then it goes to the emotional center, right? So, but in the instinctive center is a leftover from the animals, so he has put S is also it's instinctive, or you can take M. He has left out the instinctive center, which he has not taken it in. Gurdjieff takes in the instinctive center also. So here we can just say M, we don't take it, we'll just say it goes directly to E, right? But M is the final reaction where she blurts out to me, right? She says that I was in traffic, and how can you just put a, what do you call, blame upon me, right? Now, in any of these areas, if we can introduce a pause, this is the whole inner thinking process. If we can introduce a pause, then we are suddenly stopping even before the M comes out, before she blurts it out. If I can pause there, then I've disconnected M from I and E. IES. I've disconnected M from IES. Can you understand? And this is a big thing if we can do it. Now, sex energy has only 2 movements, outward and inward. Outward and inward. Or we can take it in another way. It has 2 movements, downward or upward. Right? In yoga, the term for upward movement is? What is the yogic term for upward movement? Huh? Urdhvaretas. Urdhvaretas. See, just the first introduction of pause, the first introduction of pause, it has come to here. I want to give it back to her. There's that compulsion to give it back to her, and I pause over there. What happens to the sex energy? What happens to the sex energy? We have paused it from going out. We have paused it from going out. And when it cannot go out, it goes in. It has to find direction. It has to find direction. Am I clear in this? Right? So the pattern which was there of my reacting to her or her reacting to me, right? That pattern was locked with sex energy, right? Sex energy is desire, the desire of the pattern, karma, the desire of the pattern to express itself. I have only paused my blurting out of the, what do you call? So that locked sex energy which wanted to go out in that excitement, right? In that excitement of 8, I have paused it a little over there, right? It does not all go out. Some of it cannot go out and it has to go in. Or if we could use another language, instead of going down, it now has to rise up. And it can only rise up. Sex energy cannot rise in Ida and Pingla. It can only rise in Sushumna, in the middle channel, in this central channel. Right? Mr. Tavaria calls this as the beginning of energy of essence of consciousness from 3rd grade to reaction is 3rd grade. Right? But what you call, once the sex energy starts moving in, it is from 3rd grade to 2nd grade. So he calls excitement as tamas, and it dominates, right? It dominates the reaction. So when we first introduce a pause, we momentarily disconnect the behavior, the action which is M, from what started with an incoming impulse. The incoming impulse met the memory pattern. The memory pattern became a thought form. The thought form made an impression in the IESM and there was reaction. So that whole, what you call chain reaction, we are pausing at one point and there's a momentary gap. There is a momentary gap. There's a gap in the whole process. Can we, for a moment, can we sense that gap? That suddenly a whole thing was rushing along in a certain direction and we paused. And the beauty of sex energy when it rises, right? It's not just sex energy. There's actually 3 energies together, but I'm just taking it as sex energy. It is 3 energies together, right? When it starts rising, it becomes perfume. It becomes perfume, right? So the lower form of sex energy is crude sex energy, which comes from the food we eat. But as that sex energy suddenly gets released from the pattern, and because we have paused the reaction, the outward movement of that sex energy, it translates into something like perfume inside. It gives you a feeling of expanding inside. This is a feeling that there has been a moment of consciousness. Can you see? If you open a bottle right in that corner, this same moment I'll get the smell over here, I'll get the perfume over here. Sex energy, what do you call, the molecules kind of diffuse. It needs no time to diffuse. It needs no time to diffuse. So there is suddenly that upsurge of sex energy and it diffuses into your whole system. It diffuses into your thinking. It diffuses into your acting, it diffuses into the inner sensitivity. Everything changes. A subtle kind of inner beauty, a subtle kind of inner deep sensitivity happens with that rising of the sex energy. And we have just begun our journey of pause. We have just begun our journey of pause. So, in that gap, sex energy cannot rush outward. It does not become a victim of excitement. It cannot rush outward. So, it goes inward or upward. This is the beginning of transformation and sublimation of sex energy. I hope you're with me still, not getting bored on the whole thing, right? What would it do over here? Now, Tavaria Sahib has put two things in the heart. Of course, he doesn't use the word heart, he uses the word Anahat Chakra, but I don't want to go into Anahat Chakra. The first is the sex energy has risen, it is rising in the Sushumna, it has reached the Anahat Chakra, it has come to the heart, right? We have not yet talked about Manipura, but we'll talk about it later. What is the first thing it does over there? In the heart we take as E. Heart we take as E. What is the first thing? What does it give us? What is the immediate transformation it does? From the diagrams. Everything is written in the diagrams. It transforms will. Will comes from the heart. Right? Will comes from the heart. Will does not come from the head. So, what does he say at this stage? What is the will we have? And what is the will now which is transformed? What is the will we are living in at present? Neutral will. And that now moves to intellectual will. It moves to intellectual will. This is the inner movement of the energy of its essence of consciousness. As it moves up, neutral will changes to intellectual will. Intellectual will. Now, actually, what happened is that it's taken me a lot of hard work, very, very hard work, and to unravel these diagrams. And I'm not saying I've been able to unravel them. I maybe have unraveled them 50%. 50%. Still, there's a lot of work to be done. I mean, he has gone so deep into it, it's very fascinating. Very, very fascinating. So, there's no complaint from my side. The thing is that I enjoyed doing them, but I'm still very sure that I have not been able to open them completely. What I did realize, and because I've been taking camps on the Yoga Sutras, and in the Gujarati we have reached up to 30 Yoga Sutras. And in the English I think we are 45 or so, I don't remember. And English have been, of course, online. What I suddenly realized is that how he has rearranged the sutras. So, when this energy starts moving up and from neutral will, it's the beginning of intellectual will, then he'll have a series of sutras over here which explains that. So he has rearranged the 195 Yoga Sutras according to his 5 diagrams. That is, if you move from 248 to 522, then which are the sutras which explain the movement of energies, what is happening inside, what is happening to consciousness, what is happening to will, what happens in the pause, what happens to the incoming impulse. All this, he has rearranged the sutras explaining each part of the brain diagrams. And this for me was a very, very fascinating experience, that I woke up to this whole thing, that the whole brain diagrams is like a jigsaw puzzle. And you have to take each sutra and where does it fit in the jigsaw puzzle. He has taken the whole Patanjali Yoga Sutra not according to the outer meanings which we take out, according to how he experienced it within himself. And this was very fascinating, very, very fascinating. So, of course, in the evening I'll try to take a few sutras on pause, but that is with the sutras which he has mentioned, right? It is not something which I have found out on my own or something. It is what he has mentioned on pause, right? But it now, this is it has become for me a kind of, not a challenge in the sense of my ego, but a challenge in the sense of inner work, that how do I fit in these 195 sutras in the brain diagram to be able to exactly put in each piece of this jigsaw puzzle to create one big picture. If I'm lucky and if the body supports me for the next few years, I'll be maybe able to go somewhere. So what I'm trying to say is that what I'm explaining to you is very, very, superficial, right? I'm just trying to, there's much more depth over here in this brain diagrams, right? And it may take a few years to go into the deeper aspects of the brain diagrams. What is neutral will and what is intellectual will? What is neutral will and what is intellectual will? Gurdjieff says that we have many eyes, right? And Gurdjieff says that each of these eyes is a living person. Each of these eyes is a living person. Each eye has an intellectual center, an emotional center, and a moving and instinctive center. Each eye has this, right? So each eye has an emotional center. So every eye has a different desire. Every eye has a different desire. And he says there are thousands of these eyes in your psychic structure. And every desire is pulling us in different directions. Every eye is pulling us in different directions. I have one eye which wants to get healthy. And getting healthy means dieting, right? And then I have another eye which loves to eat cheese. So he says, to hell with the dieting, right? Let's eat some cheese, right? Then the dieting eye says, no, you have to eat only fruit. Pause the cheese, right? And all these eyes are fighting inside. So he says, each eye has its own will. Each eye has its own will, right? So, right, because I'm dieting, I'm eating fruit. So just now that eye's will is overpowering the other eye. It is neutralizing the will of the other eye. Can you see this is happening within us all the time? And then when nobody is looking, I'll take a piece of cheese and have it, right? So the eye which is wants to enjoy the cheese is overpowering, neutralizing the eye which wants to diet. Can you understand? Right? This is within us, it's happening all the time. And this is the play of eyes. The Mahabharata is nothing but a play of eyes. It is a play of eyes. That is why in Gurdjieff groups they used to really study the Mahabharata. And we have whole groups of eyes within us, right? I say you are late, there's a whole group of lawyers within her. Can you understand? And they'll come to defend her. The traffic was this, and the weather was this, and the car was this, and can you understand? So there are whole groups of I. There are lawyers. There are whole groups of I who love to worry. Right? If one worry gets over there, right? And sometimes they go into suspension, and then the wife asks, "You should be worried about this," right? And then the husband again, the worrying eyes come up, and right. So each eye has its own will. Each eye has its own will, and each will neutralizes the will of the other eye. We'll live in this state of neutral will, Tavaria Sahib says. We live in this state of neutral will. Now he says this energy of essence of consciousness moves up. So when it comes to E over here, right, it sort of changes from neutral will into intellectual will. Now we have to understand that the sex energy moves up and it goes to the I, right? And intellectual will is I is telling E what to do. Can you understand? I is telling E what to do. That now I, from 2 it will move to 5, and E, which because of that rise of sex energy, 2 which was previously 4 will move to 2, and 5 will tell 2, okay, you have to do this. That is the light from the intellectual center, the energy moving up, the light from the intellectual center will fall upon the emotional center and give clarity that this is the action which you have to take. E will tell S, this has to be done, and S will tell M. We'll go into this again in the afternoon, right? So we have a movement from 248 to 522. Because the sex energy is like perfume and it permeates, it brings deep relaxation in M, right? So the actions which were previously very, aggressive actions from M go down from 2 to 1. They become effortless actions. There's no more reaction, there's no more aggressiveness. There's a kind of effortless effort. There's a doing by non-doing kind of in M, right? So we move from 248 to 522. We'll go deeper in this in the evening if anybody has any questions. Huh? I hope you've understood, right? You can ask questions in the evening if you want to digest this a little, right? See, excitement and compulsion come from 8. Aggressiveness comes from 4. Aggressiveness comes from 4. How do we notice aggressiveness? How do we notice aggressiveness? Muscles and in our action, when many times we repeat the same thing again. Have you understood? Have you understood? Have you understood? Right? Huh? So there is an E intensity of like and dislike over there. There's an intensity. No questions. That's a very good sign. Yeah, please give him the mic.
Hello. Sir, you took this thing example where one person is asking other person why he or she is late, and other person is responding. Now, in one of your previous things, you had said that if that we are only into the business of spirituality and somebody else is not, so it is our responsibility to react or not react or pause. But say, for example, if both the people are in the business of spirituality, what would be the reaction of a person when somebody is coming late, and what should be the reaction of the person who is late? Or there will not be a question only arising in this scenario?
I've not yet got the question actually, but I'll just try to answer it.
Okay.
I'm not.
Shall I
I'm
elaborate
not
a
very
bit?
good at understanding questions. So
Means two people, both are in
yeah, I'll
the
give you an
business.
example. I'll give you an example. That I asked Mr. Tavaria, and my wife was also there when we asked him this, that uh, you can see, right? So then you read a person, right? Then what happens? So he says, no, I only read if the person has given me permission to read. Sometimes it happens spontaneously, but he says, I don't allow myself to read the other person. When the person asks me a question, right, then I read the person and give the answer, right? So, if two people are practicing spirituality, there must be an understanding that you have the permission to tell me and I have the permission to tell you. I cannot interfere in another person's life. Can you understand? If a person decides to remain mechanical, it is his choice and my acceptance. Right? I have no right to tell anyone anything. Right? My thing is that if I can help people as an outcome of my own growth, not because of my desire to help people, my inner growth has to overflow in a way that it helps people. Can you understand what I'm trying to say? My
Yes.
surrender to Tavaria Sahib in itself has to help people. But my ego cannot help people. The ego itself cannot help anyone. Can you understand? So that ego has to be put on the side. The ego is not that it does not come, it will come. I have to observe it and put it on the side. But if through my inner understanding of the brain diagrams, if people would love to understand, then I share it. I share it, right? But there is no aggressiveness about it. If people don't want to understand, then okay, I have understood, right? It, the last month or so when I was going through this, there's been a tremendous inner journey, tremendous joy in unraveling these aspects of the inner journey. Whether people understand or not, for me, it's not that important, right? But the very fact that when energy flows upward, it likes to share. It is a byproduct, right? It is overflowing energy. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Everywhere there is overflowing energy, right? So it's just a sharing, just a sharing, right? But there is, I keep on asking, have you understood? Are you with me? Because I want to go deeper. It is not that my aggressiveness that you have to understand, that you have to understand, right? But it's certainly, like I just shared with you, that the next few years have been mapped out to me. I want to now put these sutras into the jigsaw puzzle of the brain diagram. Can you? Now, if people are interested in that, then we will share it. If they are not interested, then I will still do it. I'll still do it. But there is no compulsion from my part that you have to understand. But when I'm talking, I say this. It's not mechanical completely. It is that whether I can go ahead or not go ahead. Right?
So, sir, this is not a question, it's a request. Based on this brain diagram, Tavaria ji has given intensity chart at the end of the Yoga Sutras. So, will you please throw some light on this intensity chart in the evening session?
I will see. I want to finish this a little. I'll try my best. I'll give you a small outline of the intensity charts.
Ji,
Right.
thank you very
I'll
much.
give you a
So,
small.
at least we can read it and we can use that for physical ailment.
Yeah. Up to that, I can try and help you.
Yeah. Thank you
You
very
see,
much, sir.
in his original intensity chart papers, which we have not published in the Yoga Sutra, one column was remaining.
Okay.
One column was remaining, and that was he wanted to put a homeopathic remedy for each ailment over there,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And he had forgotten to take one book with him when he went into isolation, and that book was The Miracles of Mother Tinctures by Yadubir Sinha. Right? And so he phoned me and said that when you come, please bring that book. This column is empty. This column is empty. And but I could not reach on time. So that column remained empty. We have not published that column, right?
Ji.
So, but I'll try to put some light on that. If I get some time today or tomorrow, I'll put some light on it. At least you will be able to read it for your own disease. At least that much, because the intensity charts have come out of his very deep observation of people over so many years, and that is how he has written the intensity charts, right? So, but I'll try and whatever I can do. This, you see, what he has left is it's very deep, and for us in our state of understanding, he would understand in a flash, but for us, we cannot understand in a flash.
Ji.
We have to really meditate upon it, work upon it, do a lot of chintan upon it to come to some understanding of what he has written.
Ji.
Right? It's very hard work, very hard work. But I'll give you a small outline of the intensity charts.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, actually, this is not a question, but you said there is fusion, perfume like fusion in the when energy rises up instead of going out, when energy comes in after pausing, and it gets perfume like action within. So that could be. Can you please elaborate it a little? So that we can actually there is nothing to know about it. You have to feel it, but how it spreads, how it rises.
Yeah, I have not actually understood the question.
I am not able to
The
actually.
quality of perfume is to spread.
Yeah.
It diffuses, right? So that quality diffuses in the four centers, the IESM, the quality of, right? And it is not just sex energy, it is a combination of three energies. But just to make it simple, I've put sex energy, right? It diffuses through the centers. So if the thinking has no light, so it gives light to the thinking, right? The full feeling is full of attachment. It brings detachment in the feeling. Right? Because of attachments, there are so many eyes, and will is fragmented. It brings what you call one-pointedness to the will. That will comes from the intellectual, the light of the intellectual. So just now my buddhi has no light, but when the sex energy rises a little, there is now light in the buddhi. And that buddhi then tells the emotion, be quiet over here and do this. Right? So that he calls as intellectual will. From I it comes. From I, the intellectual will, he calls it. From neutral will you progress to intellectual will. Here.
Does that mean that it helps you in a way that where the wrong working of center happens, it's overcome that thing?
Yeah. So in Gurdjieff, the right working of the centers, right? Gurdjieff says between an impression coming in and the impression reaching a center is an association. And that association does not take the impression to the center, it takes it to an I. And in each center, there are so many eyes living in each center. They are staying, they've made it their home over there. Right? So the association takes it to a I and the I reacts. Right? But when the impression does not go to an I, we create a new pathway. Right? It goes directly to the center. It goes directly to the center. Right? The similar thing happens over here when energy rises, the centers start functioning in a way that they bypass the association. They bypass the association, right? So the association will say something. The association will say, give it back to her. But because light has come in the intellectual center will say, hold the pause. Hold the pause. Okay. We'll stop over here. Thank you. We meet at 4:30 in the afternoon. Thank you. Thank you.